soon there could be a space that represents us, that you come and register as a member, and then we use that to agitate and work alongside government, because the cameras are running, okay, soon. So I think it's important to belong to spaces like this, because you also have to inject yourself, but we also have to do the work of going to the vulnerable communities, the underprivileged who can't come to Nairobi, and ensure that we have them registered and we speak to the needs of Nyeri. What do they need? More music studios? What exactly are the needs for that area? So those conversations are happening, which is great. I'm excited once again to be Kenyan. But another thing I think is very important in terms of sustainability, and when we go into these spaces, is not only to meet with governments, let's say at top level, and not only to say we want to talk to ICT, but we also have to involve other ministries, right? So we have to say we want people from education there, because I'm not going to be here throughout. How do I make sure Jonte's younger brother has the skills for what this digital market is asking for now? Yeah. That conversation starts right now, and it means in 3 to 5 years, we're not having the same conversations because we're speaking to a different need. We've already solved this problem. And the last thing I'll say is, even when we agitate for things that will serve our economy and our space now, but we also agitate for things that will change things in the future. For example, youth sports culture. I don't know how that is one docket. Honestly, when I see it, I'm just like, what are you saying? This is humanly impossible for one. That is too wide. How do we break them apart? Countries like France have a whole minister for culture. All right? So it's no shock when you go there and you find that I am an artist, and we've taken our culture. This is how I've spoken to the history of France, which is sketchy, but like for a long time, right? Because they've been intentional. Yeah. So when we agitate, let's speak to the different needs that we have, because education is a need, innovation is a need, but then also let's talk about the certain issues we're seeing now in how the government is framed. It might not take one regime for us to change an entire ministry, but maybe it's going to take 10 years, but we have to start. But there's things coming up. And the last point, sorry, because Maurice is here. I feel like what is so important, and it speaks, Wanjiru asked such a great question and we didn't answer her. She said, what can we do in this space when we're talking about cyberbullying, etc.? Can you imagine if a statement from a credible institution like Baraza Media Lab comes out and says, we are against ABCD? You know what I mean? Sometimes you don't even have to put certain sanctions on people, whatever. It just means now people will be like, oh, okay, so we trust these guys. You know, they'll think 10 times, and there'll be repercussions that maybe the law will take 10,000 years to deliver. Okay. So we need stakeholders to also stand with creators loudly and say, we don't stand for this, we don't stand for that.
All right. Claudia, I know you want to speak about it, especially as you answer, and Washiri will speak too. If the government indeed is responsive to such requests as brought up by Kate, if the government is responsive in your engagement with the government, and as well as someone who's participating in the creative economy, is the government really responsive? And Butita can nod yes or no. Yeah, I say yes? Okay.
Speak to that. So, Kate, thank you for what you just tasked us with. Yesterday, actually, I was having a conversation with Waziri, who's in charge of youth affairs, sports, and the arts, about having ambassadors who put Kenya out. So I believe there are so many things in the works, right? When Waziri entered his office, I am not defending anyone, and I'm not defending the government, but when Waziri entered, and when he was given the docket, he had a meeting with creatives from the film, from music, and so many of them, and they gave him a list. There's a whole booklet. I don't know if it's available, but some, I think guys like Carol Radul have gone through it, and a couple of other guys, but I think I'll put in a request for it to be available. I said I'll put in a request. I'm not no special person, but there's a booklet of what the creatives said what they wanted done.
Yes.
So now that Kate has tasked us with something, I believe each and every one of us is going to hold the ministry or the government accountable, because some representatives from, I think we all go through the same challenges, right? Guys from film all go through the same thing, tuna complain, oh, we're not getting paid well, etc, etc, etc. So we can actually be accountable. We can speak up because we're the ones directly affected by it. We have the opportunity. No one, you're not speaking up, and no one is stopping you from speaking up.
Gotcha.
So there's that, and there's also the lady in yellow who spoke about gender-based violence. I personally have an initiative called Claudia Naisabwa Initiative that supports young girls, and just because I come from a patriarchal society, so I know how young girls are affected by this, so we can have a conversation around that.
Way to plug herself. Good job. Butita, umesema government is responsive?
No, I'm just happy that Claudia can say we had a conversation about it. It's something that never used to happen.
Okay.
There was a wall between them.
It's moving forward. Yes.
So we are happy it's happening.
All right.
Tajataja for Brazil.
All right. Mike, real quick, and then Maurice.
I want to say something in view of what you had earlier mentioned. And it's a good thing that you're reassuring us as as creators that there is an initiative, that there's going to be something where we can all, like come together and talk about our problems, right?
And build a community.
Yeah, build a community.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very nice. I'm not just telling you to have me on board if you're having people on the...
You're
anyway,
here.
But anyway, it's crazy. You mentioned about... It's actually crazy when you think about it, that as creators, as influencers, we are not unionized. We don't have an entity that really are champions for our well-being and rights, and that brings structure to like our whole industry and community.
Yeah.
It's actually very, very crazy. And I think that's the thing that really fuels the disconnect between us and the government. You see, Butita mentioned that the 15% acquire the whole payment you receive as an influencer. It was actually for like a specific platform. And that's a communique that would be made by the union, if it's existing, to like all existing influencers, to like break the disconnect between us and the government. You see, even in matters to do with cyberbullying and...
Who is we? Give him a mic. The man with the heavy voice.
I'm sorry. Okay. The thing is, okay, the chairperson is here, so of course I can't speak to this, but like, okay, he will say the thing.
But you've already said you've
so
done
anyway,
it.
so we spoke. We did a whole like what is it called?
Proposal pitch.
Yes, we communicated that this is what we've been doing. I've been personally as a content creator and influencer for 10 plus years, and I've been paying tax. And I felt so bad when I saw MPs spreading propaganda saying that we don't pay tax, and I thought that was like a bunch of nonsense. We engaged both the city committee that actually
exists.
Bloggers Association of Kenya.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Now, I mean, of course, when we started out, we were only bloggers, but of course, we have morphed.
So is that like an umbrella that also
yes? Because you see, the thing is, you don't actually necessarily even have to be our member. We take care of everyone. For instance, what Grace was talking about. We went to court to protect freedom of expression. I did not even know you existed. You're probably, I think, in high school or something.
Me.
You get, so the thing is, we exist for two things: to protect the space, but also to grow content creation. And you don't necessarily have to be a member, but support us. We work with all these guys. We work with KUJ, we work with Baraza Lab, we work with Semabox. All these guys, and for me, and what Adele said about we need a new organization for us to be able to speak for our rights. We do not. all we need is actually more collaboration. The new organization can join the collective of people who've been working in this space. Yeah, so we don't necessarily, to be honest, I don't feel like it's really about new organization. It's really supporting the work the work that is there, and also trying as much as possible to understand the people who've been there and what they're
Okay, in the interest of time, let him respond as well.
There's also the question of visibility, because I did not know you guys existed. You see, I did not know that I, as a creator, I'm represented by an association that exists. You see, and that's why I'm with Adelle, like coming together and getting unionized. Because no offense by the Claudia, Butita, there's a bit of ambiguity when there's selection of a few individuals to represent us without involvement of a massive percentage of creators. You get, like there's a little bit of ambiguity, and that's, we want the reassurance to be there, that between us, the government, and also brands. And I think the only way to do so is to even deal with issues like cyberbullying and stuff, is to come up with like a union.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. All right. Grace, you want to respond to that legally? Okay. Is there a mic closer to Grace? You can hand it to her, and then Maurice has to speak as well. I think he's speaking to the point of community, because that's what really
okay.
And then we need to wrap it up.
I think it's okay for people to come together, but also more importantly to collaborate.
Okay.
And I think one of the issues, and speaking also to Talanta Hela, collaborate in terms of, and this is the point I'm coming to, in terms of also getting the public to buy into whatever agenda you have. So you know that one of the issues that took Talanta Hela to court is lack of public participation, because it appeared as if people were chosen out of thin air. And so maybe one of the things, and in furthering this agenda of the community that has been built here, is also to put it to public. What are these things that you're discussing, so that the public can participate? Because remember, this is not just about you who are influencers today. Tomorrow you might be in another career, you might be appointed into something, and you get into a totally different. So it's very important to get public input and public participation, and to also think about even giving part of your work. Not everything has to be like from a business perspective. You have to give your time to public policy issues. So it's really, really important to put it out there for people to comment, and not just think about everything as in terms of PR and launching, that you're going to launch something. What is it? Give it to us now, so that we can also give our input. We might actually be able to improve it.
And Maurice, as you speak, someone from online says, and this is Elsie Kifue, she says, content creation is a relatively new avenue globally. Do you think having an organization like the one for press journalists would help streamline some of these policies, and like a code of ethics, for example, amongst other things?
Thanks
you
for
could
that.
Stand up so you could be seen.
Yeah, I'm also short. Short, dark, and thank you. I think, like any other thing, organizing makes it easier to negotiate. I'll give you a practical example. There are very few companies in Kenya that can influence tax. So your Coca-Cola, your EABL, your KCB Bank, because they have the numbers. So they can organize, two people can come together as Coca-Cola and EABL. I'm not saying they have done it, but they can, right? Coca-Cola and EABL and say, easy taxes a glass is going to reduce our bottles and increasing our revenue, because they are paying taxes. So I think organizing makes it easier for you to also showcase some data to people who can listen. And now we have a government that listens, or seems to listen, right? So we can use. Now I'm saying seems because again, I'm being optimistic and saying give them time, right? I mean, you can see photographers are taking pictures on Sundays in Tao like crazy. So there seems to be some listening going on, right? So if we organize, and organizing does not always mean that there has to be some goodwill from everyone to come and say these are the most pressing challenges. Everybody has pressing challenges, And there's, if you were to say, nipatie list yako, we'll have everyone will bring their top. But
Yeah.
what are the big ones for across?
Okay.
You know, that we can all agree on and say, these are the top 3, that if we win this one, it's okay. And there is already existing organizations. So for me, it's to, how do we empower these existing organizations to have a teeth to bite, you know? How do we say, we know that there's BEC, we know that there's Baraza, we know that there's creatives, there's, I think there's a creatives council that was there, that is actually, these things exist, that is talking to Bank Association to use IP as collateral. So these conversations are happening in chambers and in silos, and I like what somebody said in terms of like, if you're doing it just because Morris is on that table and you don't want to share, then it becomes difficult, because then by the time Morris is leaving, this knowledge is lost. So there's need for more organizing. As much as we are tired of talking, there's need for more organizing like this.
Yeah.
And then having top 3 priorities that we say, now can we all coalesce around this? And then let's solve for that. And let's hit the, what is it called, Chumekiwa motto. Because we say the government is still motto, right? So now is going to take advantage of that and make sure that we have some policies and laws that will outlive us.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we're usually very comfortable close to power. So because now the government is close to me as Morris, I'm comfortable. I have no problem.
Yeah.
And that's the nature that people have, you know. But when this government leaves and goes a bit far, now we're uncomfortable. Gotcha. And you can see what is happening to media right now. Media was very buddies now. The you know, matchy shirts and red ties and conferences and Obama-like speeches, right? But now they are there. Yeah, you know, now they are put there, they are being told what to hear. So that's when you're seeing everyone is up in arms. But we are comfortable with the power. We were close. That's what is happening right now. Also as content creators, if you become too comfortable with power, when power leaves, you'll be on the other side, you know? Yes.
Gotcha. Let's give a hand to Morris, who's our host here at Baraza Media Lab. And then now we are at the final question, and I want us to address it with Kennedy, Rahab, and this is in the name of trends. And I'd like to, and then we'll bring it to Butita, Claudia, Njugush, and Adelle. And in the name of trends, I'd like us to look into a crystal ball, not the WorldCoin one, but a crystal ball of where do you see this industry going in the next 5 and even 10 years with the trends of AI? Are you worried? Kennedy, Rahab, and then to the main panel.
So I think sometimes when you talk about technology, people get worried first. You know, like, for example, you know, the way they say AI will change things, and the media is the first one to be disrupted. You have seen people, you know, can create content with AI now. So you sit back, and in some places, even journalists are being replaced. But what I see with that, for example, because AI, for example, is trying to create the thought process of human beings such that, you know, it can complete tasks. So you get a situation where you can sit back and give a question to Google Bard or ChatGPT, and it create for you content. And sometimes people are like, oh, that's going to replace us. Oh, that's but to me, it's give you chance. You know, for example, if you're a journalist and you're pitching stories to a different people, and you know, in reality, you can only write 1 story a day. This one will give you a chance to write 10 stories or 20 stories in a day and try to pitch it to the other people. You get. So my point here is sometimes, obviously, people look at new thing, and the first thing which goes on your head is the negative. And that's one thing that I've faced with bloggers and, you know, social media for a long time, because it started back in 2011.
Yeah.
For a long time, the only thing people used to see about social media is the bad thing. So if I'm asked to be on a TV station, the first thing is, oh, misinformation. Nothing to do with the best part of social media. Nothing to do with the best part of AI. So, you know, now people are like, okay, this AI is going to take our jobs. But that's there. Yeah. Any good thing, there's some bad aspect of it.
Yeah.
The best thing of it is how much can you use it. For example, what Butita was saying. Yeah. You are selling this. Like what he's saying, selling the air. That air thing, how do you create it? I can create it fast. and already has, yes, yeah, AI could create that fast. So you can create so many, so many more windows. Yes, so that's one thing.
Yeah.
The other thing is how you can learn your audience. You know, when you are on YouTube or something, they recommend for you, if you start playing Njugush comedy, all of a sudden they will bring somebody who sounds like Njugush next, right? Recommend. But that is the point of learning the audience. So when I'm watching that, they think I also like somebody else like that. So you as a content creator, you need to look at that and say, I can use AI to learn my audience. You see what AI, algorithm, what it's trying to bring to you.
Yes.
So you can use that to say what type of content somebody like me will watch. Grace was talking about people with TV in her house. So what do they like? And what else is being recommended to them? So you as a content creator, you're like, okay, this is what people like, and this is what can we recommend?
So the next 5 years looks good. I just have to kind of cut it short.
Yes. So to me, first of all, we have to embrace.
Okay.
We have to embrace the technology. So first, as content creators, there's negative of it. We'll talk about it. But the best out of it.
Gotcha.
So it's awesome going forward.
Looks good moving forward. Rahab?
I think the one thing I will say about AI is that it cannot replicate human experience, which is what I think a lot of content creators do very well. It can recreate news, but the unique stories that we think in our minds based on our experiences, based on our past, things we've gone through, our regrets, those things, the human experience, I think, is what AI cannot replicate. And that is one thing I'm not worried about. And different kinds of people working together. Artists working, like a visual artist can work with a storyteller to create different kinds of stories. So there's a lot of possibilities. But the one thing we have to realize is Adelle had talked about community. We have to build strong communities that look out for everyone. Because if we try and do things on our own, we will, like a stick, one stick will break. But if we are a bunch of sticks put together, very hard to break.
All right. Thank you, Rahab. And as you said, Claudia, now we're to the panel. You said yesterday you were with Waziri. Kama utampata next week, ama within the week, tunakutuma kama our ambassador, right? I mean, you've even heard it from Kate. So when the concerns that have been raised here, but how do you see it moving forward with AI? Rahab has spoken about it not being able to replicate some of the human experiences.
Yeah, I think we had this conversation, Pale, when we were preparing for this.
Yeah. And
I remember saying AI can't replace me. Because the main reason why even my employer hired me is because of my personality. The main reason why people follow my content or engage with my content is because of who Claudia is as a person, right?
Okay.
And I think creators, guys in the media space, entertainment space, or anywhere else should not be threatened by AI. Because what attracts, for Kwanzaa creators, what attracts viewership is who they are. So after AI can generate whatever it'll generate or whatever it'll come up with, it will not attract as much because it is not attached to a person. Right? There is a face to the name. Yeah. And I think I'll just give my parting shot and I'll say this. I was at a brand immersion the other day and we were given a task. We were supposed to send one message. So we were divided in groups. And each group came up with something really creative. And nothing was like the other. Like, there was no copying, no nothing. It was just uniquely different in its own way. And what I believe is a challenge to us, and what I believe is something we need to work against, is let's have healthy competition in the industry. We don't have healthy competition in the industry. I am a big fan of WWE from Kitambo. So John Cena and Randy Orton would do some weird skit. You guys think these guys hate each other. The fans, me, I'm a John Cena fan. I'm rallying for John Cena. And you'd think that these guys hate each other. But it's healthy competition.
Right.
Them behind the scenes, they're friends. I know so many, even I know some Kenyan creators who do the same thing. Kina KRG, Butita. It's healthy. There's something they put out there, but it's good. It's not that we're not being spiteful against each other.
Yeah.
And we need to work as a team. We need to interact. We don't need. Let's not be confined in a space with people who are like us. Let's interact. I am a Gen Z. I'm 20 years old, turning 21. I am friends with Butita in the entertainment space. Pablo Johnny in the marketing space. I have other people in other different spaces who help me think outside the box, who help me think outside my creative box. So let's, I personally vouch for us to work as a team. And there's so many things that surround the entertainment space, surround the creating space, and so many things that are factored in. Let's make sure that in one way or another, we link ourselves with those factors.
All right.
And that's just it.
Butita?
Yes, AI. Okay. Yeah. As a strong supporter of AI, when do I use this or so both? Okay.
Is it good with the handheld?
Okay, so now when the AI craze was everywhere, like AI, ChatGPT, what nini, and everyone was like, hey, inakuja kupoteza job, this thing is coming to replace people. I took my time to understand this, the most trending platforms, because there's a wide range of AI tools. ChatGPT, BARD, AI, is it RPM or PRM, something. So I looked at these things and realized one thing. As much as some people see them as a disadvantage, they are a very big advantage to the creative industry and to everyone. Because I felt, I've tried prompting AI and I realized the best, if you prompt it in a good way, give it more details, it gives you the best. So I feel like AI will make us better. It's not coming to promote laziness. It's coming as a machine to make us do better. So if you are performing at 60%, you can raise that to 90% because of AI. I remember there's a day, I think it was like 2 a.m. at night, and I just tried to go to ChatGPT. I had a pitch the following day, and I explained everything the way I could see it. Hey, I want to talk to this guy about this and this. This is what I do. Nini, on Friday, this is what. And I wanted ChatGPT to generate a pitch. And the pitch came, and I was shocked because it would have taken me like a whole day to get someone to put that together. So I'll just go to the pitch and correct some few details. But that was me speaking that has been made better by the AI. Gotcha. So for all of us here, if you are not using AI tools to make your work better, please go and try it today. Just this thing is phenomenal. Yani iko tops kabisa. But it's how you prompt it. It's not a laziness tool. It's a tool to make you better.
Got you. All right. Blessed Njugush. AI threat.
With Njugush, you start by
grow up. Grow up.
This is collaboration.
Now,
they do this a lot online.
I think Butita. So I think sijui niko na vitu mingi za kusema, lakini for now acha niseme about AI.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about artificial insemination. No, just hear me out.
He's making his point.
Butita, grow up. Because it's bado lazima ikue. Butita. Yeah, I'm coming from where I understand. Lazima, as much as it's improved, as what Butita is saying, it's an improved version of what it was.
Yeah.
So the was is still there. So that doesn't change. Mimi nitaogopa saa zile artificial intelligence itaenda kufanya activation. Gedhurai. Another point I'll give is when I post a poster, a client amenipatia poster, like a graphic poster. kona, this is the package we are selling. When I post it, it doesn't get traction. Hata wakieka sura yangu hapo. But if I take a photo, mimi niko tu Roiro, na mangombe zangu na nini, that photo does better. Yeah. So we are social beings. So if I see a photoshopped photo of you, I'll be like, but if I see you in somewhere I don't expect you to be, that's how you alienda kufanya nini. Like, let me give an example. If you see Eric Omondi in that shuka of his, you're like, aki mtu ni mjinga. It's human. But if something AI generated, sijui kama unanielewa, it's no longer the same. 2, 3, about impacting lives. And about what she's saying, about how us, we have the impact, we have that voice. Yeah. How do we impact life? Saa zingine huwa sichaji hiyo, na nimeisikilia hapa hiyo 1.8. Pengine mligongwa. Mimi nikavadiwa kitu. Now, haki nikianza, yeah. So, walikuwa AI generated. So, how we give back, how we go out of our way to do ABCD, that will never be replicated. You being a human being, that can never. We have computer, they'll come, but we've seen they actually do more harm than good when you're talking about cyberbullying. You get, so my point is that will never change. However, I have an issue, and we are talking about coming together because I have an issue with the, I'm sorry to say, they are not here, but I have an issue with older generation. Because for them, it's competition. It's very easy today to see me do something with Butita. Yeah. Nata nisikount. Actually, do inakujaga. Hiya, by the way, sasa inakujaga baadaye because we are pro. There was a time I'm a brand ambassador of a particular brand. And then someone older comes and start pitching mbele ya client. You know, we can do a better job, yeah? Hey, I'm like, so how do I get into a company? How do I get into the same umbrella with this person? So, and I'd like to maybe, for the guys who are fresh hatujaribika sana kwa industry, if it be, and you're seeing it happen with content creators, like in Austin Mongai, they are shooting, hata ujuangi nani ako kwa nini ya nani saa zingine account ya nani, because they are always together, and baadaye do ina come. So, like for example, tumekuwa tukitukana na kina Butita na Abel, then from nowhere client anasema, naweza wapata hivyo mko watano. And you are better, you bargain better, mkiwa hivyo than ukiwa peke yako juu utaulizwa sasa 1.8 nikipatia Njugush, but it's easier tupatiwe 1.8 tukiwa watano na bado tumemgonga, unaona. So in terms of AI, I think it's doing better. Yeah. It's doing like kitambo tulikuwa tuna typeset, even before to typeset we kwa cyber ilikuwa tumetoka huko ile ni ile type yani nini, then tukakuja kwa typesetting, unapeleka cyber cafe uandikiwe, size script na iandikia kwa simu. Right. So AI is the, for me, if I'm tired of writing, Njugush says ha. If I can be able to say what I'm thinking, because first of all I have a problem translating Kikuyu. I think in Kikuyu translate to Kiswahili or Kizungu, you know na. Yeah. So if I'd be able to say these things na yapia nitume kwa client approve, it means I'm spending less time, approval napata haraka kutoka kwa agency, client is happy, but at the end of the day, mimi I always say protect your hapa, because at the end of the day, I think for a lot of content creators, that's all we've got. Yeah. I like that.
I think in terms of AI, before my parting shot, it's just to look at how it can help you with your processes, basically, so to help your processes run faster or cheaper, so that things are a little bit more accessible and your output is still of a high quality. So there are AI tools. I know sadly we were in our workshop last week and we did explore certain tools that help a podcaster's production process move much faster, and then your output sounds like it was recorded in this high-end studio, but it's still accessible for those of us who don't have access to those studios. So there is some good. Where I would be skeptical is in ethics and in terms of like, what is it mining? And those are conversations that I think are ongoing. And also in terms of representation. So some of the production tools we use don't actually know how to produce the African intonation, which is very interesting, and it's a big problem, especially for podcast audio. So what does that mean? That means then, as Africans, we need to innovate those tools for ourselves. And now is the time for us to do it. So again, in terms of AI, I see that if I was a techie, I am not, that would be a place that I would jump into and fill in that gap. So there's skepticism yet, yes, but we can speak. It's not impossible to figure things around that. The last thing that I will say in terms of my parting shot is I think it's important for us to think about community and what the community needs. And sometimes it's Baraza creating the space, and then the people come and they decide what it is that is the issue. I think we need to speak governmentese. It's very important to actually speak. It's like in the NGO world, you speak developmentese. There's a language that these people understand. So we also have to understand lobbying for change. What does that look like? It's actual lobbying. It's boring work, right? But we need to be very organized and say, when we meet like this, we've spoken about our issues, we have legal minds who are part of this creative economy. How then do they say, okay, great, now this is how we'll put it together? Or there are existing organizations that we say, you've done the advocacy, the research, you give it to us, we amplify it in this certain way. So as much as, yes, there's community, I feel like we need to tap into our ancestors who led change, used to meet undercover, right? Midnight meetings, and they would organize. The musicians were singing songs of protest that weren't really love songs. People organized, right? And everyone knew my role is to do this. That's where I see our community going. And then we then have to say, as Africans, sorry, like, it's really Pan-African. Like, the work we're doing right now as creators on this continent is really light work. It's really going to be impactful. So don't think about it as, I'm an influencer because I share my beauty regime. Not that that's bad. Yeah. But what change? What's the long-term thing? What am I trying to really change? What impacts am I trying to create? That will lead you to step back and build a business or an organization around this post that you're doing. And if we can all have an inner calling, we'll be in these spaces because we're not here only to talk about money, which is great, the 1.8, but we're like, I want to see kids learning. I want to see kids learning about AI in primary schools, in a public school. Why not? You know? So I think we just need to sit with ourselves and understand what's your inner calling as an African, and then how does it come out in the work that you're doing every day. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Adelle Onyango, and the rest of the team. I know Kennedy wants to make a point here, but we'll have to leave it at that. It's 9:35. It's been 3 hours, ladies and gentlemen. So give yourselves a hand. Adelle Onyango, Blessed Njugush, Claudia, Butita, GK Nyabura, Moshiri here, period. Thank you very much. Ama sisemi vizuri? Period. Grace, thank you very much. Money? Mimi nilipata money. I got the money. Thank you so. Hey, Laban, you're here. It's good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you so much, Rahab. Thank you, Morris. Who was our host? Let's give him a hand as well. Kennedy, asante sana. Pole sijachukua hilo swali, lakini it's just because of time. Wajiro, thank you so much. And Madai for being a bit of a, protester. Madai for being a bit of a protester and standing up for Big's rights. But anyway, this discussion continues. Community, community, community. And thank you as well, Vivian, for that, your contribution to this discussion. We had the marketer here. We appreciate the silent ones here who have a lot to say as well. Asante sana nawaona. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a drink for each, for everybody. The drink gani? Sad to say me. We have a drink. Let's celebrate that for the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a very successful episode of the Social Newsroom Town Hall. This is the fourth and very successful 3 hours of this conversation. We have had 3 issues that we've looked at. A lot more to be discussed, but this is a very good, healthy discussion. Thank you all for turning up and being very attentive and contributing. Have yourselves a good night. Have yourselves a good night online. Thank you for contributing and watching. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a drink.